very shortly really demo, if you want, in the context of this seminar and present. You will find a very large set of informations on tariffs, on taxes, on import formalities and procedure for 122 countries of potential partnership and trade. We have tried in particular now to put a lot of emphasis on the question of accessing the preferences, and therefore on the question of the application of rules of origin under our trade agreement in this new platform. And again, we will demonstrate this in a moment by introducing a rules of origin self-assessment tool, a comparator which enterprises can directly activate through the web portal in order to make their own assessment as to their ability to meet the rules of origin requirements of trade agreements, which tend to be one of the most difficult issues to manage when it comes to accessing preferences. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the features of the tool. I think this is best viewed through the demonstration. Just to say that this is something which is being increasingly used. We have around 9,000 daily users of this platform. We obviously want this to be increased significantly. And for this, we want to make sure that this tool is known, is understood, that it is also something which other intermediary actors in international trade, such as the trade promotion authorities, make use of and make available to enterprises and firms going forward. The number of users coming from Belgium so far is actually relatively high, so we're pretty encouraged by this. We will also be providing going forward training in different languages on the platform, which again will be presented to you in a minute. Now, I just want to add two things because I've had the opportunity to have an exchange with the trade promotion authorities of Belgium as well in the context of this discussion, which we're now broadening to enterprises and to this demonstration and this discussion of the information tools for trade. Obviously, information is not the only issue. There's a role for public authorities to accompany exporters in third country markets, and both from the point of view of the European Commission, but also in the member states of the European Union, and in the case of Belgium, through the work of the three trade promotion authorities of the entities. I would just pick up on a few things. I think we all know, and I agree very much with the trade promotion authorities of Belgium on this, that we can do more and we can work on the import side of the equation. We can work in country, in third countries, by integrating our actions and making sure that we interact better to make sure that the existence and the potentialities of the different trade agreements are understood, known, and activated by the importer community. And there we are going to be very much ready to try to improve our coordination with the different trade promotion authorities in the EU on this question. Second, I think, is that we understand that there is a specific challenge, and this is very much something which is at play today and affects Belgium very much with respect to the new trading arrangements with the United Kingdom. This is very much, of course, important for a country like Belgium, where the trade with the UK is very, very important. I would just like to say on this that we're trying to make a tremendous effort, and have actually done so in the last few weeks, to increase the level of information that we have on the new UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement with the EU27 on the Access2Markets website and platform that will be presented to you in a minute, including on the more complex issues of rules of origin. We have already integrated the UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement in the new platform and in the rules of origin self-assessment feature contained in this new platform. We will try to increase the level of information available on the trade and cooperation agreement with the UK with respect to services in particular. Moving to this question of services, I just want to say also that we are going to put an increasing effort with respect to trade-in services. Trade-in services is more complicated to handle from an implementation and enforcement standpoint. It's simply because it's more complicated, because the level of market access really depends on our ability to monitor, influence a complex set of regulatory frameworks in the countries concerned. That requires a lot of resources, and it requires us to benefit from the direct input of stakeholders. But we are working to add more features and more information with respect to services as we go along to the Access2Market platform of the EU. We are similarly doing this as well with respect to information about the potential opportunities with respect to public procurement abroad. And with respect to public procurement, we are looking at creating a similar assessment tool as we are doing with respect to rules of origin for the benefits of enterprises. There are many other issues which, of course, we understand are very important for exports. Sometimes in sectoral areas such as agriculture, there are specific problems with respect, for example, to sanitary and phytosanitary conditions for access to third countries. I just want to say that this is something on which, together with the trade promotion authorities of Belgium, and for the benefit of specific sectors, I'm thinking about fruits and vegetables, for example, we're going to continue to put a lot of effort on. So I just wanted to say these few things by way of introduction. They address issues that already in the direct discussions between us and the Belgian trade promotion authorities we have identified. And I would like now to give the floor to colleagues who will be presenting the actual information tool to give you a very concrete sense of what it looks like. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denis Redonnet, the Chief Trade Enforcement Officer. And those who logged in a little bit later, you can ask your questions through the Q&A application. I give the floor now to Nina Baumeister, who will introduce the Access2Markets tool. Nina, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and I hope you can see my screen. Is this okay? Yeah, okay. So I would like to introduce the Access2Markets portal today. I would like to introduce you first to a case study on import, then on a couple of examples for export, to the trade barriers and the single entry points, to a dedicated web page with information for SMEs, as well as to information about the different trade agreements we have, and to our page for events where you can register in the next months to more trainings if you deem necessary. So I will start, as I don't have so much time, of about 15 minutes, with an example which concerns tennis shoes. It's import from Vietnam to Belgium. So we have here in the yellow part of the website, we have something which we call My Trade Assistant. So here you can give hand in or type in your HS code or tennis shoes, for example, whatever you want to import, and from the countries of origin to the destination country. So when we do this, we arrive here at a tree where on the chapter we see it's footwear, and we have the tennis shoes here. We hit as a first result tariffs, where we can see that for erga omnes it's 16.9%. That would mean all countries with whom the European Union does not have a trade agreement would have to pay 16.9% of tariff for the import of tennis shoes. For the generalized scheme of preferences, so for countries with whom we have this scheme, it would be only 11.9%. But as we have a trade agreement with Vietnam, and if those tennis shoes are originating and it can be proved, so the famous rules of origin issue, then the tennis shoes could be imported into the European Union with 0%. You find also here the different laws to see, for example, which countries are under this GSP, so this generalized schemes of preference, which countries are there, for example, or the laws here. So it's all you find all this information here. As I said, as you have a big margin between erga omnes, GSP, and Vietnam, it's really worth the effort then to try to get this lower tariff, and that's why the rules of origin, the proof of the origin, and therefore we have the ROSA tool. But my colleague Laurence will explain you more on that. So I will skip this whole part here in this presentation and continue with taxes. We have the value-added tax in Belgium of 21%. So if you would import the tennis shoes to Germany, for example, you would not have 21% here, but 19%. It could also be that there could be excise taxes. So those are taxes, for example, additional taxes on tobacco or alcohol or energy. If this is the case, then they're marked here as well. To see what kind of documents one needs and how, for example, the different procedures are in the European Union and in Belgium, we have the tab here, import requirements. So the import requirements show, for example, in the overview, items like packaging, labeling, but also explains to Vietnam companies who want to import into Belgium what our custom union is like, or project safety, for example. This is here, up here, it's all about the European Union, but if you click on the last one and go a bit down, you also find this information for the Kingdom of Belgium. So, for example, packaging items for foodstuff. This is okay. We have tennis shoes here, but as this is for the moment general information on Belgium, you find the relevant contact points in Belgium actually, or packaging, sizing, and this kind of information. When we go to general, you find information like a packaging list. What kind of packaging list is necessary to import these tennis shoes into Belgium? You find also freight insurance. What kind of freight insurance is necessary? So those are, in general, you find all the information which is there for all the products to be imported, right? Under specific, you find rather things like standards. For the heading, so footwear, you can find technical standards, for example. Which might be relevant for your product. For example, also labeling of footwear. There is something special in the European Union, and what we need to see here. So this one you will find also, so tariffs, rules of origin, taxes, import requirements, you will find also later on for export, as well as trade statistics. So one can see here that Vietnam to Belgium. So we see, okay, Belgium doesn't export much to Vietnam, or anything, but import is quite high. And you can compare this also with the EU, okay? And then if you want further statistics, you go here. I'll show you probably the page later if we still have time. We can look for more dates. You can compare much more things on the general statistics website. Okay, so this is for import. Then let's take an export example. I have completed here again in my trade assistant an HS code, which is in the cosmetics chapter. From Belgium to Canada this time. So I have here already clicked on search, and we have cosmetics chapter 33, and I'm looking up lip make preparations. So when a Belgian company is producing this lip makeup preparation and wants to export this to Canada, what is happening then? Let me see. We have here an MFN rate. So this is the rate for European companies or also for other outside outside countries like the UK now, non-European countries, when you don't prove the rules of origin. So if it's not a EU-originated lip makeup preparation, then even a European company would need to pay 6.5% tariff. FOB means free on board. But if you can prove that your lip makeup preparation is originating in the European Union, plus you prove it, then you can get 0%. So this is the EU preferential rate, okay? And this only counts for our 27 countries. So the UK is not part of it anymore. So for them, they might be their own or will in the future have their own agreement with Canada. But this here is for European companies who can prove their origin. Otherwise, even European companies have to go with 6.5%. Okay, so what can we see here as well? Tariffs under a heading shows you the whole HS tree on 4, so on the heading. And sometimes there are differences here, so you can check if you're not really sure where to fit your product in. This might help you to see the difference actually, and then to type in these numbers back again up in my trade assistant. I wanted to show you also a couple of other products for the tariffs because they're quite interesting. Other information actually. For example, if you would export an airplane, a civil airplane from Spain to the United States, there are additional duties, and they are marked here also in the tariff line. So it says here new aircrafts and an additional weight of blah 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 kilos for France, Germany, Spain, and the United Kingdom. So for Belgium, it doesn't even count. You don't have to pay if you export it from Belgium. You don't have to pay the 15% extra, right? But you see here, as we're in with the United States, we don't have an agreement with the United States, so there's no EU column, no EU preferential rate, which is normal because there is no trade agreement with the United States. Another information you find here under tariffs is when you go, for example, for a chemical, which is dimethyloctanol from Belgium to India. So sometimes this might happen that we have trade defense measures, and you find them here. If we have them, they should be shown here as well under tariffs. Okay, so this is with a couple of other examples what you might also find under tariffs. Okay, I'll try to find back my example with lip makeup preparation from Belgium to Canada. Rules of origin, as I said, my colleague will explain. Let's have a look at the taxes. Canada has different provinces, and different provinces might have different taxes. So you find all the information here of the different sales taxes for the different provinces. So it's not sometimes simple. I have another example. I'll try to find it quickly. Exactly here from Belgium to the Ivory Coast. For if you would sell from Belgium to the Ivory Coast cigars, in the Ivory Coast for cigars, you have a lot of different taxes. So for example, statistical levy, solidarity tax for combat of AIDS, all these kind of different taxes are in our database as well. When we go to procedures and formalities, as I said, this is similar to the import side. We have again a general overview for Canada, so you can see the general information of Canada in the way of what is happening with COVID, general information about the country, advanced ruling, international agreements, what other agreements does Canada have, but also, for example, on labeling requirements, consumer products. So those are all information in general for Canada for all the products. Then when we go to general, this is what you might need to fill in for to export your product to Canada. So we have, for example, a packaging list. We have, for example, the proof of origin, but then my colleague will talk more. Bill of lading, for example. And the nice thing in the database is that you get examples of these documents. And also it explains you, for example, in which language you should fill it in. So in Canada, either French or English, but here it says usually in English. Why it is, what is it for? So you can see, okay, I need it for customs clearance, for example. So these are our documents you can have a look at to help your export, and you don't have to invent the wheel because a lot of these documents are here. And if you would look this up, for example, for Brazil, then it would be translated into English. For the specifics, those are specific to the heading. So here for the cosmetics, and you have, for example, a cosmetic notification, and again, the document. Let's have a look at the trade flow. So here again, for export, you have a trade flow, Belgium to Canada and EU to Canada. And you can see there's some movement actually here in how this product is imported and exported. We can also see here our trade barriers. What Denis was mentioning, what we are in the Commission, we're receiving trade barriers, we're solving them, we're active on them, and you can see, for example, here there are a couple of solved ones, but there might be also active one, and we try to match them to the product you're exporting. So please have a look. What, for example, if there is something active, and you can have a look what the problem actually is to try to find a solution to anyhow export your product, or at least you're warned that there might be a problem. Okay, so this is my tour for this export example. I have two others just really quickly to show you. So we have the United Kingdom in the database as well. And this is, for example, for the chapter plastic, and therefore table and kitchenware. So, for example, you can see that there is an MFN of 6%, and we have, as for all the products in the UK, we have 0% EU preferential rate, meaning again, the product needs to be originated in the European Union, plus you have to provide the proof. Okay, so I keep it here with my examples because we're running out of time, and I promised you to show you still a couple of other things on the website. You can see, for example, here a couple of ideas of concepts if you're new to international trade or to trade in general. We have made also guides. So guides for export, for example, they're really useful when you're starting to get an idea of what the different steps could be and you have to do. So have a look here. So they're for import and export. Then when we go for the home page, we have our main buttons here, and one of them is focus on SMEs. So we have a help website here for SMEs actually. So if you are not sure or if you need a bit more help, there are a lot of help desks. There's a European Enterprise Europe Network, for example, who can help you. And also we have different sites for different countries. So have a look how this could help you. And one last thing I would like, or one last item on agreements I would like to show you is, for example, that you might have heard, okay, there's a new agreement, but I cannot read the whole text. Like for the UK, it was 1,200 pages. How should I understand all of this? So you could check the country you want to export for example, Algeria. And there you see that Algeria, we have an agreement with the country. It's called the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Convention, PAM, and it's explained here. So you can see again what the rules of origin are, and a lot of information easily written for users to understand. And we have this for all of our agreements, including the UK. This needs to be a bit more written out, but for all our free trade agreements, for example, for Japan, for Canada, for Vietnam, all the texts are there, easy to understand. And then we have a toolbox here, and we have an events page. So if you're interested in getting a bit more in-depth information, to see a bit more, you can have a look here. We will have on the 25th of January a meeting, and we have also in the next couple of months more trainings. I think we have more than 12 trainings in the pipeline, also in different languages or with translation. So please have a look here to contact us and to see when you want more information on the trainings. And if you would like to contact us because you have a question or you have a barrier, then please go on contact. And for a general question on, I don't understand something on the website, or I think someone else, my importer told me the tariff is different than what is on the site, just fill please in this formula. It reaches normally my desk or the desk of a colleague of mine, and we'll try to help you as much as possible. And also, if you have a market access complaint, you can fill in. So if you have a barrier, you encounter a barrier, you can fill in this market access complaint form, which will then be sent to the single entry point, so which is my unit as well. And we will see and analyze with you together how we might help you. So I keep it with this. And I think, yeah, this is it from my side.
Okay, thank you, Nina Bouwmeister. We see that some questions are coming in. We'll answer the questions after the next presentation by Laurence van Nitzen on the rules of origin self-assessment tool. Laurence, you have the floor.
Thank you. I don't know if you see me.
Yes.
My name is Laurence van Nitzen. I'm working in DigiTrade Rule of Origin team. So rule of origin are an intrinsic part of any FTA, because indeed, I hope it's clear for everybody now, if you want to import or export a product, this product need to comply with this product specific rule, with the rule of origin, to be deemed what we call originating, and therefore to qualify from preferential treatment. So it's really important to understand this rule of origin. Those rules are often criticized as complex, or there is a lack of information. And this is why we have developed this self-assessment tool, really to help the operator to understand, and also to have only explanation of the rule accessible, applicable for their specific products. So to avoid them, to require them to go through to understand all the rule of origin, but really to have the rule of origin specific to their product. Perhaps I will start my example now, and I will hope. So I need to minimize. Share that. I will go there. So I have include an example. Perhaps just before that, this tool is now available for 7 agreements: UK, EU Japan, EU Vietnam, EU South Korea, Peru Colombia, Central America, and the UK. So this is it. We are working also on translating this self-assessment, but it's not yet available. It's only available in English for the time being. So if I include an example, for example, I have include activated carbon in my trade assessment tool. I select the product here, and has shown by
Laurence,
Nina.
I think we cannot see your presentation.
Unfortunately, sorry.
Indeed.
So how do I need to do, because, oh, sorry. Okay, sure. I need to. So I click on share, and unfortunately nothing is happening.
Yeah, there we are.
Here, okay. So I have a,
Nice, Nina.
as Nina shown, I have a include a
I
product.
can go through it. Where do you want to
Sorry?
go?
It's
I
Nina.
can share from my screen.
You see now or not my presentation? You see my screen?
Nina is helping you. So you just need to say to Nina where she has to go on the Access2Markets tool.
So I'm really sorry. Perhaps you can take some question then, because I'm really. Now you see perhaps something?
Yes, Laurence. Now we see something from you.
Okay.
Yes, now you're there.
Okay, sorry for that. So I have included a product in my trade assistant tool. I export this product from Belgium to Japan, for example. And then I go to the rule of origin tools, and there you are. So you have to go through the different question. So it's an interactive tool. You read the first question: is my product originating in the EU or Japan? Here I read: did I use non-originating material in the production of my product, meaning that non-originating material is material imported from third country of a product of unknown origin? Yes, in most of the production process, I have imported non-originating material. So the rule of origin applicable to your product are shown here. And you see that you can click and you can have explanation of the different words used in the product specific rule, but still you will find that perhaps it's still very complex and I don't understand exactly what means this product specific rule of origin. So I go there, I have Anglais explanation of the rule. I click here, and therefore you see how to apply this rule. So this is production from non-originating material of any subheading except that of the product. Still is not very clear. I have an explanation here of what it means. And very importantly, I have also an example, because sometimes it's much more easy through a simple example to understand how to apply this rule. So you have an example with another product. You have also information on how to consider if I have to take into account when I assess if my product is originating, what I do with the equipment and material used in the production. Do I need to take them into account, yes or not? This is explained here. The same with the packing material for shipment. Do I have to take them or not into account? So different relevant information when you assess if your product meets the product specific rule of origin. So I go back to my self-assessment tool. So I have explanation of all the product specific rule. I see also, and it's well explained here, that here I see that this product have several alternative product specific rule, and I need to comply only with one of them, and I don't need to comply with all of this product specific rule. When you have well understood the product specific rule, you reply to the question, does my product comply with this rule? For example, I say no, not with this one, but yes, in this one, for example, yes, my process was a chemical reaction, so I comply with this rule. I say yes. If you comply with the product specific rule, you have a pop-up saying you comply, and you need to continue the self-assessment, and you go to the horizontal rule that apply to all the products. Again, it goes through the tools, goes through the different provision, and you really have to read the different question here and to see if you indeed you have respect what we call the territoriality principle, meaning that your product was produced in the territory of the FTA partner. If it's still not clear for you, you always have here, you can click on the word, and again you will have an explanation of what in more detail what means the territoriality principle, and also very importantly you can click and you can go through the article where it is explained in the agreement. So you have also, you can see really easily the legal basis of this article. So you have to go through the different question and you reply for example, yes, here I comply with the territoriality principle. Yes, my product went beyond what we call the minimal operation. It is a case. Here, it's for the operator who store non-originating material with originating material. There is some provision. Perhaps I'm not in this situation. I don't store material, so it's not applicable. Here I have an explanation of duty drawback. In some agreement, you know that duty drawback is allowed. In some agreement, duty drawback is not allowed. Here you have an explanation in this specific agreement if it is the case, yes or not. So I continue and I answer to the second section, the question of the second section, which are about how to document that my product is originating. And here again, you can be in a different scenario, or you are the exporter, meaning the producer of the final product. And in this case, it is explained that you need to issue a statement on origin. Again, you can click, you will have explanation how you need to draft this statement on origin. But here, you really, depending of who you are and in which context you are, you select, for example, I'm not an exporter, I am not the producer of the final product, but I am a supplier. So I supply some part to another EU company. In this case, also, I need to issue a proof of origin. And in this case, it's not a statement on origin, but it's a supply declaration. So yes, for example, here, I am a supplier and I click here. So here appear the result of the self-assessment. And the self-assessment recap a little bit the different element and answer you to the question. For example, yes, based on all the answer you have provided, your product is originating in the EU-Japan agreement. So, and you have the different elements that were necessary to demonstrate that your product was originating. On the top, you have information here on what kind of document I need to issue to prove that my product is originating. So it's a recap. You can print this self-assessment, and it can be used as a recap of all the elements necessary that you need to have to prove that your product is originating. So this is the self-assessment part of the tools. Now, the tools provide you also information on the origin procedure, the origin procedure, how to claim a preferential tariff. This is more for the importer, what kind of documents they need to provide to the custom authority to claim preference. And again, it's different depending on the agreement. And in the specific case of the EU-Japan, you have an explanation of the different documents that need to be provided. You have here section 5, recap on the verification procedure. In case there is a verification, what are the different steps of this verification? The section 6 provides you information of the binding origin information. Yes, perhaps I forgot to mention that this self-assessment tool is not legally binding. So it's really a tool to help you to go through the different provision, but it's not a legally binding information. If you want to have legal certainty, when you are importer in the EU, you can contact the relevant authority and you will find a list of the authority that you can contact for issuing binding origin information. Well, if you export to Japan, in this case, you have the website of the Japan custom to contact for them to ask an advance ruling on origin. The section 7 provide you all the legal texts, because sometimes it's not easy to find. Also, they were always already displayed in the section above, but here you have really all the legal texts that you wanted about the rule of origin. You have also all the guidance documents that were issued to explain the different part of the rule of origin. And as section 8, And this was a request of the operator to be able to compare the rule of origin in different agreements for a specific product. And here you can click and you can ask indeed the different rule applicable, for example, in Costa Rica for the same product. And you will see that they will appear here. So with this, I went through the famous rule of origin tool, and I'm happy to answer to question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laurence. I see the questions are coming in. Well, let me just regroup the questions in order for the European Commission to answer. But the first one is more by Wouter from Gulk, from the Chamber of Commerce. It's more of a comment. I think this tool, this Access2Markets, this fantastic tool, because we do receive a lot of positive comments on this tool. It is important, but of course it will have to be complemented by actions taken indeed by member states, by the European Commission, and you can rest assured that the cooperation between the trade promotion organizations in our country will continue on organizing different events to promote. Then we have several questions. First question by Patrice Relieve. It's true that we speak a lot about, we've seen the same in the Brexit context, a lot about physical goods, but the question is whether there can be added more information on other products like software. Then there's some questions, I think, from Peter Lambrechts also, and in the same line also from Martin Kandour. On the updates. On the update of the system, how can companies know whether the information in the Access2Markets tool is actually up to date, and if there's specific changes, for example, in the harmonized system code? Then there's a question on Chris Damot on the meaning of erga omnes. If you indeed export to several third countries, where some countries might be included in free trade agreements and others might not, and whether the Access2Markets tool can also give information if you export from one third country to a second third country. Then we have another question by Sophie Smits on documents that might not be included in the harmonized system code. What can we do? Can this be addressed in the tool? And then a lot of questions for Laurence on the rules of origin. But I maybe ask Laurence to take a look at the questions, and ask maybe Nina or Denis Redonnet to take the first group of questions. Commission, you have the floor.
I can start, Patrick. Thank you very much, and I will give the floor to my colleagues. I actually tried myself already to start answering a couple of questions in the Q&A. You will find, in particular, the first one very briefly on the question of complementing this effort with other types of efforts. I think that's a very fair point. It's very important. I'll raise several things. We work with the member states' authorities to systematically use the trade agreements, because the trade agreements don't just provide opportunities to companies, they create a framework where state to state, with the governments of the party to the agreement, we're able to monitor, constantly raise issues about how the agreement is working, whether it's benefiting companies, and we want to do this in a systematic manner. Secondly, we need to receive the input from the stakeholders, from companies themselves. That's why we have set in place a new single entry point and a complaints process, the link to which you find via Access2Market, which also enables companies not just to understand how the agreement operates, but also to raise concerns if they have issues with respect to access to the third market concerned. Number three, we need to work in the countries themselves, and the network of delegations of the European Union are going to be increasingly working with the network of embassies of the member states and the assets, notably the offices of trade promotion authorities in countries. So that articulation between, in the case of Belgium, the trade promotion authorities of the three entities, and the European assets that are on the ground are very important. On access to market, I just want to say one thing, one general point. We need to continue to improve the tool as we go along. So we're going to be looking for feedback from the users in order to work in two directions. One, of course, is to continuously improve the data quality. And I've answered in the chat the question about how often do we update the data and the information. And in terms of developing the features, the development of the rules of origin, self-assessment is something that has come from a lot of interaction with various stakeholders along the way. And we try to understand what would be useful. We need to understand from you how much it is useful, to what extent it is useful. And then we want to try to make sure that Access to Market has more and more on all the issues that are not directly relating to trade in goods and tariffs, where the information is more complex, but where with time and with resource and effort, we are developing the instrument. So that's perhaps one set of responses, but I think my colleagues, could usually come in on some of the others.
Yes, thank you very much, Denny. So I'll try to answer a couple of others. So updates, they are given depending on the different data sets. There are different sequences. So for tariffs for tariff of the European Union, so when you import, they're updated even daily. For the taxes for import, they're updated almost every 3 months. The same counts for when you export. For example, the lip makeup preparations, the taxes and tariffs are updated every 2 months, and the procedures and formalities are updated latest every 3 months. But whenever something is normally coming up and is a bit bigger, our data providers update on a very regular basis. So we are confident this is one of the most updated tools you can have, actually. For erga omnes and free trade, we always show the erga omnes because this is important, because if you import the tennis shoes, for example, from Vietnam to Belgium, but the Vietnam company cannot prove that the tennis shoes are really originating in Vietnam, then the erga omnes tariff comes in. So the database always shows both if we have a trade agreement. Otherwise, it's just the erga omnes, or for export, it's the MFN. So that's why there are different lines in there. We do not show from a third country to another third country the tariffs or formalities. Why? Because otherwise this would go too big. It would not be manageable for us, and also we want to support European companies and their jobs. So we want really to do it for the European companies. That's our aim. Then if a company or if an importer asks you for more documents than what we have as our standard in Access to Markets, you might think twice if you want to give them the information. But as soon as this gets confidential information, be hesitant, ask, for example, your chamber, the TPOs, or someone for help to analyze really if this is necessary to give to you, or come back to us via the contact form. We might be able to help as well, because sometimes the third country might ask you for a lot of information, and they just say, as long as you don't give us the information, you're not allowed to import or to export. And that would be a barrier then in the end. So we would need to talk then to the country if this is something really structured and is imposed also to other companies and so on. On the HS, so we have 6 digits is worldwide the same, and then for in the HS and the nomenclature, the first digits are the same, and then every country goes into their own numbering, and for the 122 countries we have in the database, those are all there. So the full nomenclature is there. I think I hope I covered those main questions. If I forgot, please reply. let me know.
Yeah. Hello. I will take over perhaps the question on the rule of origin. I will share my screen because perhaps I will provide, and I hope I will be quicker this time. Voila, share. I will go there, and I will take. Perhaps I will go reply to the different question by taking the example of I want to export chocolate to the UK, which I suppose some operator will do. So there was a question of are the specific ingredient mentioned? Yes. So here, when I go to my product specific rule applicable to the chocolate, the rule of origin are displayed, and in terms of rule of origin, at least not food safety, you see that what are the different conditions on the different ingredient. And for example, for the chocolate, the product of the chapter 4, meaning all the milk need to be wholly obtained, so originating in the EU or UK. And regarding the sugar, for example, you will have some two conditions. Either the sugar, the non-originating sugar do not exceed 40% of the weight of the final product, or the value of non-originating sugar do not exceed 30% of the ex-work price of the product. So this is a condition on the ingredient, on the originate state of the ingredient that you put in your chocolate. Again, you can go to rule explain. I have to admit that the rule, so here, okay, it's not working. I need to, voilà, here you have explanation. And I will not go through this explanation because you saw it already, but again, there was a question of packing. For example, do I need to take into account the packing for retail sale, yes or not? And I read that here, when I apply those rules, the packing for retail sale should not be considered when you assess if your product is originating. Actually, the packing need to be considered only when you apply what we call a value-added rule. Otherwise, you disregard all packing for retail sale. So I do believe that I replied to the question on the packing. There was a question on tolerance somehow, if I understand correctly. You have to know that I didn't show you, but if you, for example, because it's really these tools only display the rules that are applicable to your product. For example, if I don't comply, I answer that I don't comply with all the product specific rules. The tools will tell you that you don't comply, but still you have some tips to help you to comply. And it goes through the different additional flexibilities that exist to try to see if you comply with the rule of origin. And one of them is the famous tolerance rule, where indeed, even if some products are prohibited, still you can use up to a certain percentage of this product. And this is here, you click here, and then you go and you will have an explanation of the tolerance. What is the tolerance for example, agricultural product? What is the tolerance for industrial product? What are the tolerance for textile and clothing? But this tolerance is only displayed if you don't meet the PSR. It's because you need to know it, because your product do not fulfill the PSR. So this instrument only show this additional flexibility if you need them. Otherwise, you don't need to be aware of them. This is on the tolerance. So the reply on UK, yes, you see that the agreement of UK is included in the tool, and you can read already all the rule of origin applicable in the EU-UK agreement. I hope that with that, I reply to most of the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the European Commission. I see there were some additional questions coming in, but I see that's also questions regarding the update that was addressed by the European Commission. I think if I look through the questions, I think most questions have been answered. Do not hesitate, as the Commission has shown you to go to contact in the Access to Market base if you have more specific questions later on, specifically related to the product that you want to address. We had some other questions on dual use, but there I recommend you to keep in contact with the the regional authorities who deal with dual use, and the same goes for questions on towards the Belgian tax office. I think the message that we hear from companies, from SMEs, is very loud and clear, that you want more information, you want more tutorials on this issue. And I think this is one of the main points that we can take from this first webinar on the Access2Markets. There will be more presentations, and do not hesitate to contact your trade promotion organizations if you feel that for a certain group of companies, for a certain product, you want a specific presentation. I think we're very open, and the idea indeed of the Access2Markets tool and the webinar today is that you companies, clients, that you use this very much. But as Denis Redonnet has said also in the beginning, this is very much a work in progress. So it's important that we receive your feedback all the way along, and that we can all the different levels of the partnership that Denis has mentioned, that we can continue and work on this tool, but also on the communication towards all our companies. I think with that, unless Denis Redonnet, the European Commission, wants to answer the last question. No, I see that it's fine. I think we have addressed most questions. Then I would like to thank all the companies for the participation today, and also the trade promotion organizations for the organization. It was quite a challenge to get this all together, but I think you worked fine. And I think also the questions from your side show the interest, and we'll take this aboard for next presentations that we will make sure that get through. Thank you very much.